So on the high school level, the rules vary differently from state to state. So compared to university level, the NCAA is sort of the governing body for collegiate sports, and they more or less do that on a school to school basis on the college level. On the high school level, it's very different. There is no sort of uniform body that sort of controls and sort of has an overarching voice on the topic. That is literally going to be handled on a state by state basis. So the number one thing for student athletes is compliance, because what you don't want to do is find yourself having been found to have engaged in activities that will later on disqualify you from future amateur sports, including the Olympics and college and university too. In some cases, it may disqualify student athletes from being able to receive scholarships to play on the collegiate level. So number one for the student athlete on the high school level, first, know the law. Know the rules in your state. Know whether if there's NIL is permissible or not. Good news is that every day there are more and more states that are actually submitting rules for NIL where they're going to be pro NIL. Fortunately for us in the DMV area, DC, Maryland, and Virginia, they all have pro NIL rules on the high school level. So student athletes in DC, Maryland, Virginia can engage in NIL activities. The thing that they want to be careful about is what you endorse. Now I know in DC they got Prop 71 and they got all these other things, and people use cannabis and all these other things, but prohibited activities under NIL on a high school level and collegiate level is not, student athletes are not allowed to promote alcohol, drugs, any type of pornography or any other type of illegal activity. Those things right there are banned, they're barred, they'll get you thrown out. So you don't want to engage in those things. What parents need to understand is that for the student athlete who has an interest in creating content around their athletic performance and preparation, this is a really good way to be productive. This is a good way to focus and be productive, and also be able to monetize this. So when I was a kid, during the summertime, we oftentimes did something that had nothing to do with the sports that we played. Like, you may play basketball during the season or football during the season, and in the summer you go and work at the mall, or you go and do something else that's totally unrelated to the sport that you love. That's different now. With NIL, student athletes can get paid for signature signings, to go to soup kitchens and be a presence or an ambassador for the schools that they work with or that they attend. I think for the student athlete, the high school student athlete, number one thing they need to start doing is they need to really start to follow student athletes who are being successful in this stuff already, because success leaves clues, right? So what you want to do is, who is similar to me, what student athletes right now are really big in NIL, sort of, take a page out of their playbook and see how you might be able to do some of those things, because you don't have to recreate the wheel. The second thing is to, again, understand your why for doing it. Get all businesses and every business plan have what's called a mission statement and a vision statement, right? So as an NIL student athlete, or as a student athlete, I should say, engaging in NIL activities, you are actually a business. So what is your mission for your content that you want to create? Like what is your goal behind it? And lastly, how do you envision yourself? Like, how do you want to be portrayed? How do you want to show up in the world? How do you want people to see you? How do you want people to perceive you? So a lot of this stuff is sort of internal, and there's no right answer for this thing. But I think that, again, one thing, if I'm a student athlete, I would follow other successful student athletes who are engaging in NIL, and it's not about copy, but it's about taking the page out of the book of what they're doing that is already successful and that's working, and figure out how you can adapt those types of activities to suit your own mission and vision. Parents, you oftentimes worry about student athletes getting a good education. You don't want to sacrifice education at the expense of sports. Well, I think with NIL, parents have another thing to consider in terms of positive things to consider, because now it's not simply a matter of whether they're going to be a good athlete or they're going to be a good student. I think that right now that actually gives them a third option. They can be a stellar athlete, a decent athlete even, or even just a bench warmer, and be a really good have a really good mind for business. And now that even though they may not have been able to take student athletics to the next level, their business acumen is something that they were able to develop, and then they'll be able to leverage later. So I don't think that there's simply like the notion of you got to get good grades or you're going to be a good athlete. I think now you can get the grades, you can be a good athlete, but you can also be a good business person at the same time.